What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to the AST call-in show. I'm Noah Strackbine. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your audio podcasts. And as always, you can find all of my work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. Shout out to everybody who was patient. I apologize that I was not on here yesterday. The city of Pittsburgh got hit with a Wizard of Oz like tornado, windstorm, whatever you want to call it. It was absolute lunacy for about 30 minutes. Things seemed to be good, cool, calm, collected. I jumped on with Chris Carter, locked on, recorded a podcast. Things were good to go. And then in the middle of the night, my power decided it was no longer hanging on. It was done. Gave up for a whole day. Luckily, we got it back this morning. Super pumped to get on here. Been waiting 24 hours to dive into this one, so I won't waste any time. We're back. I do want to give a shout out to our members. If you want to become a member, you could do so by clicking the link in the description below to become part of the AST Nation. With that said, we're going to dive into them. Shout out to everybody who called in. If you want to call in, you could become a member. Let's get into it.
What is up, Noah Strackbine? This is Bird Fan.
Bird Fan.
I just wanted to let you know that I'm concerned about Maddie.
We all
still
are.
Haven't seen her in any of the chats. I did miss Monday or Tuesday, so she might be in there. Also curious how the guy is that you had to talk him off the ledge and he went to better help. Kind of concerned for that fella too. I want to know how they made
Hope
it
he's
through
doing
the draft.
well. Hope he's doing well.
And then I wanted to ask you what you think of our draft. The high points, the low points, and what you realistically think about these guys getting on the field first year. So I'll keep it short. Thanks a lot. Always great show. Talk to you.
Shout out to Bird Fan. Hope Maddie is doing well. I hope you enjoyed your birthday, week, Maddie. Hope you had a great time on vacation. Jackson Dart, dude, he's going to be fine. He's going to do great things in New York, I hope. Shout out to Russell Wilson, man. Shout out to Jameis Winston. Shout out to everybody out there who survived the 2025 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they did great, to be honest with you. They went in there underhanded. They didn't have a second-round pick. They looked at it and said, DK Metcalf's our second-round pick, but that's the most boring thing you could do. And in this draft class, the value in the second round seemed to be higher than any round of most draft classes I remember. The second round of this draft class was filled with starting corners in Will Howard and Ben Morrison. It was filled with great running backs in Trey Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. I mean, you could have got a somewhat decent quarterback value in a guy like, I'm not high on Tyler Shuck, but I thought Shedeur Sanders was going to go there, and I thought that would have been a great landing spot for a team. You could have looked at defensive line. You could have looked at wide receivers and still found starting quality wide receivers. The second round of the 2025 NFL Draft was great. The Pittsburgh Steelers weren't included in it. And I thought that was going to be a detriment to their draft class. I thought you were going to look at it and look back and say, you could have did more. You didn't do enough because you didn't have that second round pick. Things kind of got away from you and you had to reach in certain positions and your third round pick wasn't that great. And my mock draft started with Kenneth Grant that I thought would have been a great pick. And I think Derek Harmon is exactly that pick. But by the third round, you were taking Will Howard, who you got in the sixth round in real life. And I think that's the difference. Things fell so well for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they took advantage of it. So it's a shout out to the entire NFL because the Denver Broncos selected R.J. Harvey over Caleb Johnson, and the Cleveland Browns decided Quinshon Judkins was the third best running back in this draft class when I wish him nothing but the best, but probably isn't. That's what happened in the second round. You just saw guys fall that you did not think were going to fall, and it worked out perfectly for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Derek Harmon's a win. Massive win. Will Howard in the sixth is a massive win. I cannot emphasize this enough. Caleb Johnson in the third round might end up being the biggest steal of the NFL draft. That's how good I think this kid is. I think he's phenomenal. I think he goes into an offense that is built perfectly for Caleb Johnson. I think having Jalen Warren, who's great at things that Caleb Johnson needs to improve at, like catching the football and pass blocking, great 1-2 punch. Great 1-2 punch. Jack Sawyer is the only question mark in my eyes, but to be honest with you, you can only share the Derrick Henry outrunning Joey Porter Jr. and Minka Fitzpatrick meme so many times before you say, I get it. I see where they're coming from. I understand why they did that, because Jack Sawyer knows how to set the edge. He's great on run defense. The Steelers needed run support bad. That's why Y.A. Black in the 5th round is a stud move who brings so much potential to the Pittsburgh Steelers right off the bat. I love that pick. And it's not an Isaiah Loudermilk reach pick. It's a real life great pick. Love that pick. Will Howard in the 6th. If Will Howard turns out to be Mason Rudolph and plays 10 years in the NFL as the Pittsburgh Steelers backup quarterback, and that is all the Steelers ever get from this guy, that is a phenomenal 6th round quarterback pick. Phenomenal. Mason Rudolph's a great backup to have. He's a guy that if you need him to start 4 games, you could count that there's a good chance he's going to pull at least 3 of those games out of his butt and make it work. It's going to happen. If you could get that out of Will Howard, man, phenomenal job. I don't think the 7th round really matters, but to bring home Carson Bruner and make that work, to add cornerback competition to Beanie Bishop, I think that works too. I think the Steelers draft class, I gave it an A-. Jack Sawyer was the only questionable pick, but I understand why they did it. I think it's a win. I was very impressed with the Steelers draft class. We'll see what happens, obviously, but on paper, they look pretty damn good. I think they're good. Shout out, Maddie. Shout out, Bird fan. I hope everybody's doing well, man. I hope everybody's doing well.
I know, it's Maddie. I guess my question is, why did Will Howard go so late?
Great question.
I mean, you look at his resume, he's got championships. He's done pretty well. The stats kind of speak for himself. He's a locker room guy. Like, why did he go so late? I mean, I'm glad he fell to us, but I was just wondering your thoughts on it. And do you think he could potentially be our guy of the future if we gave him that opportunity? Appreciate it. Talk to you later.
Maddie, shout out once again. Hope you enjoyed your birthday. Glad to hear from you. Bar fans, glad to hear from you. Let's talk Will Howard. Look, Will Howard fell because every quarterback in this class fell, because that's what it was. We saw it coming into it. And it's like every year you try to convince yourself certain positions, certain things aren't going to happen in the NFL. You're looking at it going, there's no chance. You could go back for years. We said the Pittsburgh Steelers look great. This team is fantastic. And then the offensive line stunk. And you're like, all right, well, I tried really hard to ignore that part, but it didn't happen. Didn't work in my favor. That's what the quarterbacks were here. We knew they were going to fall. We knew that teams weren't very high on them. And once they started falling, it was just, that's what it was. It was confirmation to say things weren't great. People weren't very high in the quarterback class. Who would have thought? Will Howard in the 6th round in a normal draft, that's exactly where he goes. That's what that is. Will Howard's not a 3rd round pick in last year's draft. He's not. He's a 5th round pick. 6th round pick. And if Shedeur Sanders doesn't fall the way he does, maybe he's a 4th, maybe he's a 5th, because quarterbacks are going to go higher. The Steelers aren't going to wait for a quarterback, although they were very interested in Kyle McCord. They didn't mind Quinn Ewers. There were other options there they would have taken. To me, Will Howard, 6th round pick for Will Howard's pretty good. I don't think it's terrible. I think in the 3rd, you're underwhelmed with the value that you got at the quarterback position for a 3rd round pick. I think those 3rd, 4th round guys are like, you got them at a place where you hope they develop into something, but chances are they're not going to. In the 6th round, you don't care what happens. You're hoping that he turns into Mason Rudolph, and that's a great time. As for if he ever gets an opportunity, I think he does. I think next year, the Pittsburgh Steelers go all in on a quarterback in the 1st round of the NFL draft, all in. They're moving up to get their guy. They get him. They compete Will Howard and that dude, and Will Howard gets a shot. I don't think he ever takes that shot. I don't think he ever becomes the long-term starter of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I do think this year he gets a start or two. That's my bold prediction, is I think he gets a start or two, but I don't think he earns it. I think it's more like Aaron Rodgers goes down, the Steelers say, hey, let's toss Will in there and see what happens. Let's see if it works. I think Will's got a lot of good things. He's a great locker room camaraderie. He's a national champion. But if you go to the Final Four, he didn't play that well against Penn State. It's not all there. You know, like he's a guy who probably has a low ceiling. But again, he's got all the tangibles, everything you're looking for. Can he put it on the field? Can he become that guy? I'm not going to say no. I'm definitely not going to say no. Do I think it's likely? Also no. But I mean, if the Steelers give him a shot and he makes it, he takes the most of it, awesome. Brock Purdy did it. No, I bet you everybody and their mother was sitting there when Brock Purdy got drafted saying, that dude ain't going to be good, man. He ain't beating Trey Lance. And he did. So I'm not going to say no. Do I think it's likely? Probably not. I mean, I don't think he ever pulls that off, but I do like Will Howard. And I think in the 6th round, man, if he ever does turn into a starter, that's the steal of the draft. That's the steal of the century. Brock Purdy's got him, but he's close second.
Hey, Noah, it's Cody calling post-draft. Man, I was just calling let's talk about the draft, man. I like Derek Harmon. I've been calling that on the pod for a while now. Caleb Johnson. I didn't really know much about him, but it's after watching his highlights, man, I kind of fell in love with the guy. You know what I mean? He runs so smooth. He is the smoothest. He hits holes and he bounces off people. I really think that was a good pickup. There was Jack Sawyer. I like the pickup of Jack Sawyer. I would have liked to have gotten Josh Farmer, but either way, whatever it takes to stop the run, you know what I mean? And plus, that'll keep TJ and Alex Highsmith, you know, fresh all game. So, but one of my favorite picks not one of my favorite, but the one that I like really good is that we got Will Howard. And the reason that I like Will Howard over Shedeur is because he played top schools. You know what I mean? And I know there's players that go to these smaller schools that still get drafted pretty high. I mean, Ben went to Ohio? Miami, Ohio, but I think the reason Shedeur fell so low was that he played for Colorado. You know what I mean? I watched him play Oregon, and man, I think that score to that game was like 50-6. You know, he had an awful game, and he also runs backwards a lot. You know what I mean? And we've had quarterbacks that do that. I don't like that. I'm not dissing the guy. You know what I mean? He's a good quarterback. I couldn't play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yes.
And Will Howard, you know, he plays the top schools. Most of the people that he played are going to the NFL. And that's what I like about Will Howard, you know what I mean? And he's a runner. I watched him play, I don't know, I can't remember what the team was. I was watching some of his highlights, but the team that he played for before he went to Ohio, man, dude was a track star. He was running in everywhere. So I just wanted to hear what your thoughts and opinions were about everything and what I had to say. And man, I appreciate it. I hope you have a good day.
Shout out, Cody, man. Will Howard's a stud. I like Will Howard. Caleb Johnson's a stud, man. I'm so glad that's cool to me that you got to experience Caleb Johnson, that you got to learn Caleb Johnson. That's sick because that dude is I'm not joking when I say that Saturday night I came home, I ate Wingstop 30 feet that way. There's a little couch there. I got another room because I got the office and then I got the other, I call it the den. And I'm sitting there, pitch black. I'm eating freaking Wingstop. I got NFL Network on the TV, and I'm just watching highlights of Caleb Johnson, man. That dude is a monster. He's a monster. Jack Sawyer, I like. The Josh Farmer thing they made up for with Y.E. Black, I think that's a great pick. Great pick. I think that dude fits perfectly for what the Steelers are looking for. I think eventually plays the nose tackle, which takes away and allows Keanu Benton to play the more 3-tech. I love it. I think it's a great pickup. Will Howard over Shedeur? I mean, Shedeur is a better quarterback. Let's start there. Shedeur overall is a better quarterback than Will Howard. He's got his issues, but a better quarterback. And that's why Will Howard went in 6th, and nobody batted an eye that Will Howard went in the 6th. Shedeur is a guy that he's a backup quarterback who has so much noise around him that nobody wants him to be a backup quarterback. You know, the Tim Tebow effect is a real thing, and it's a serious thing. The best backup quarterback you could have is Mason Rudolph. You want to know why? Because if Mason Rudolph put a baseball hat on, tossed a pair of sunglasses on, and walked into Walmart tomorrow, maybe 2 people would recognize him. Maybe 2 people would recognize him. And I bet you he could go to anywhere and has gone to a billion places and nobody's had any idea Mason Rudolph's been walking around. That's what you want a backup quarterback. You don't want Shedeur. That's why teams let him fall. But I do think he's a good quarterback. I think Will Howard's a good quarterback. At the same token of he played great talent, which I think is awesome. You know, he did play with the best offense in college football, and you have to take that into account. So I'm excited to see what he does with more talent. Let's be honest. Caleb Johnson, the offensive line's an issue, but you got to hope that turns into something good with the pieces that you have. DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson. I mean, Calvin Austin, you got guys. You've got guys. I hope it works. I think Will's got a chance to make it work. Let's say that. I'm not out on Will Howard at all. I am excited to see what he does in the NFL.
Hey, Noah, it's Cody calling. Just one more.
Nope. Sorry.
Hey, Noah, it's Cody calling. Just one more time, man. I want to get your opinion on this too, because no one's really talking about it. But the Browns traded down with the Jags, and I think the Rams also traded out too. Both of those teams get 2 first-round picks next year. So that means both teams are going to have 2 first-round picks. So if there's a quarterback that either of those teams want, man, they really have the firepower to go get it. I mean, you can get 2 first-round picks for the top pick of next year, and the Browns, like with them, you know, you never know what they're doing. They're goofy. They got Dylan Gabriel first. I don't understand that one, but
nobody does.
I don't understand, like, if the Browns, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them to move up again next year and get whoever the best quarterback is next year, you know, again, even though they already drafted 2. And the Rams, they could do the same thing. They could move straight in front of us, or they just would have a better package to do it. I don't know if anyone paid attention to that. I wanted to hear what your thoughts are on that. And, if we do move up, I mean, next year, like, what do you think we would have to do in order to get ahead of those? I mean, would it be 3 first-round picks? Like, there's no way Pittsburgh's going to do that. You know what I mean? So, even if we did a first, a second, and 2/3, I don't think that's going to be better than the 2 first-round picks. So,
I agree.
Maybe we just get the 3rd best quarterback next year, you know? I don't know. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. I appreciate it.
That's exactly what they're going to do. And the Browns are going to have to move up. Let's be honest. They're going to be sitting right there, 1, 2, 3, somewhere in that mix. Shout out Kenny Pickett, man. Hope he's doing well. The Steelers aren't going to go up to go get Archie Manning. Like, I mean, if they could pull that off, awesome. But there's going to be a limit. You know what I mean? There's going to be a price tag. What's the price tag they're willing to give up to go get their quarterback? I doubt it's, 6 first-round picks to go get a Archie Manning. I don't think that's going to be it, especially in a draft class where there's going to be 5, maybe 6 as of right now, quarterbacks that could go in the first round. Even if there's 4, the Pittsburgh Steelers are in a good spot because you just have to jump 6 teams. The New York Giants, most likely, which with Jackson Dart, maybe that removes them. The Cleveland Browns are going to be 1. The Raiders are going to be 1. The Saints are most likely going to be 1. The Rams are going to be 1. The Steelers will be 1. That might, I might be missing. Oh, the Colts. The Colts are going to be 1. And that might be it, to be honest. There's your 6 teams. You could jump 3 of them and be totally fine. And that's all you have to do. If the Rams are willing to give up and sell the house to go to get the number 2 quarterback, that's awesome. The Steelers could get the number 3. They'd feel comfortable with that. That's the thing with the Steelers. Like, their plan is to go get a quarterback next year, but they understand that next year they'll worry about how far they got to go up because they'll be in a good spot. The Browns aren't going to have to go up. They just aren't. And maybe a couple of picks, like if they might end up with Arch Manning. That might be the truth. The Rams are probably moving up to get the 10th pick, the 11th pick, somewhere in that ballpark. Steelers are looking, okay, how do we get from 5 to 10? How do we get in that ballpark? And again, that might land you the third best quarterback, but they'd feel pretty okay. I mean, like if Drake May ended up in Pittsburgh next year, that'd be okay. They'd be okay with that. That's how they view it right now. That's how they're going to view it, is they're not going to get the first quarterback. They probably aren't going to get the second. There are a lot of teams, but they'll find a way to get the third or the fourth, and they'll be okay with that. And they should be okay with that. Like next year's draft, if it happened today, you feel comfortable with that. We got a year. A lot's going to change, but you would feel comfortable with that situation.
Hey, Noah, it's Cody calling Sunday. Man,
Just
the
Cody.
I like the way everything went. I liked all the picks. I think everything was good.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to go into it a little bit, go on a little rant, and I want to hear what you think about it.
All right. We're getting a lot of Cody today, dude. Shout
Derek
out Cody,
Harmon, I've been calling that on your podcast for a long time, but I thought that was a good pick. And then I didn't really watch Caleb, but I was looking at his highlights, man. That guy is just smooth. He runs so smooth. It's almost like he glides. I don't know, something about that dude. He just, man, he has good vision. Jack Sawyer, I like that pick. I would have been all right with getting Josh Farmer, but
I think we already got this one.
Sawyer, either way, whatever it takes to stop the run, you know.
Maybe not.
One of my favorite picks, though, was Will Howard.
Yep, we did. We did.
Kenny Pickett. Man, my man can't catch a break, can he? He's going to be in the same quarterback room as Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco, and Shadur Sanders. Man, that guy's never going to see the field, is he?
No. Cody, what a way to end it. What a way to end it. Shout out, my man. Shout out. Look at Kenny, man. I wish him nothing but the best. You want my prediction? I laid this out there the other day. I'll lay it out there again. I think Joe Flacco starts week 1. Dylan Gabriel's the number 2. Shadur Sanders is the number 3. You're not going to get rid of either of those guys. The Haslams wanted Shadur Sanders because if they fire Kevin Stefanski next year, they'll move on from him. The coaching staff wanted Dylan Gabriel, so you're not going to get rid of Dylan Gabriel. Kenny Pickett just showed up because he was an easy trade, and the Eagles probably called the Browns like, yo, you need a quarterback? We got one. Sounds good. You want to know who else is going to need the quarterback? The Saints. The Vikings, maybe. That might be it. Maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers, but no chance. The Indianapolis Colts might hate their 2 choices. I think Kenny ends up elsewhere. I don't think he's a Cleveland Brown come week 1. I don't.
Hey, now Eric Wert's been a member for a little over a month, I guess.
Shout out.
Love the draft for all the reasons that you talked about.
Yes, sir.
Love first round, Harmon, KJ third, Will Howard sixth. All great picks, good value. The couple things that you haven't talked about, or at least I've missed, it doesn't feel like it's been talked about enough, is backup offensive tackle and backup cornerback. I know we got Trice, but are we pinning our hopes on if Slay or, God forbid, Porter gets hurt? What are we going to do? We have Trice, and then I guess we had our 7th round pick as well, and some other folks. But the offensive tackle really bothers me, in the fact that we're pinning all our hopes on the 2 first round draft picks, which is great. But what happens if somebody gets hurt or somebody isn't playing as well? I don't feel like we have that spot. So just interested in hearing what you thought. Thanks so much. Really appreciate the call.
Yes, sir. Shout out. Appreciate you being a member. Happy 1 month, my friend. Happy 1 month. I'm happy. Thank you. Just like a genuine thank you. The NFL draft, offensive tackle. My man, I'm so glad that you brought this up. That's my biggest flaw with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, is not starting quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is going to show up at some point. It's not the starting offensive line. I like having faith in Mason McCormick and Troy Fautanu and Broderick Jones and so on and so forth. It's not, we'll talk corner here in a second, but it's not corner. It is the fact that Calvin Anderson, steps onto the field as your starter if Broderick Jones or Troy Fautanu goes down. That is not okay. That's not good enough. The Steelers have avoided such a serious part of their team, and I don't know why they've avoided it so drastically. I do not have any idea why they have said, you want to know what we're not going to do? Sign a qualified backup left tackle. Why? Why? You need a swing tackle. Calvin Anderson didn't get the job done last year. He didn't come close to getting the job done last year. You needed somebody else. Maybe that somebody's Spencer Anderson. Maybe you feel good about Spencer Anderson. If that's the case, okay, cool. I'll trust your judgment. I like Spencer Anderson. I think he's got potential as a backup that could continue to grow over the next couple of years. I like that move. But if it's Calvin Anderson, that's a miss. You've missed. You didn't do good enough. That's how I view that. And I agree. I think that's where the Steelers are. That's their one last remaining need. I want to know, and I'll find out in a couple of weeks. I want to know if Spencer Anderson's your backup. If Spencer Anderson's your backup, okay. If Calvin Anderson is, you've missed. You do not have that filled. Now, I'll say this. If Troy Fautanu went down, if Broderick Jones went down, and you were still able to make a trade, the Steelers are making a trade. They're not. They're not. They're not sitting around saying Calvin Anderson's going to be our starter for the next 8 games. That's not going to happen. They'd go get somebody somewhere. They'd figure it out. They'd figure it out. They would make a move. As for corner, Corey Trice, they have a ton of faith in. Ton. And I think Corey Trice is good. I think he played pretty decent last year when he stepped into the starting role, especially in limited action before that. Now he's got to stay healthy. Massive question mark. But if he could stay healthy, I like Corey Trice. I think he's a good number 3. I think he's a guy that you put our faith in because I think he's still got so much untapped potential that the Steelers haven't been able to hone in on because of the injuries. If he could stay healthy, awesome. Brandon Echols is a guy who has starting experience, who comes from a decent defense, who's played well over the years, who's versatile, could play inside, outside, and he's your number 4. And I like that too. Like, I think that's where you're not going out to get a superstar as a number 4. Number 3, Corey Trice is a good one. A number 4, Brandon Echols is a good one. I think they're in a pretty good spot there, to be honest. I'm surprised they didn't address slot corner earlier in the draft, but I like Beanie Bishop and where he could potentially go. I like bringing in a rookie. I think Sebastian Castro could compete down there. He's an undrafted guy. I think Juan Thornhill could fill in there if need be. I like that. I think it's a good move for the Steelers. I think they're set up on the outside. It's the inside that worries me. But I agree with you. I think that the Steelers wanted to go young. They couldn't afford young at corner. So they went Darius Slay, good gap year guy. And now they're going to see what happens next year. It's one of their last 2 remaining long-term needs is an outside corner next to Joey Porter and a quarterback. And they'll be out there to fill him. But I like Brandon Echols. He's not the greatest, but he's a decent number 4. And Corey Trice is their number 3. I knew that going into all this. I knew he was going to be. I'm comfortable with that as long as James Pierre wasn't your 4th, and he's not. And I like that move. I think they've set themselves up to have a bit of a security blanket, a safety blanket behind Corey Trice. And I think that provides some space. Offensive tackle, I'm with you. What are they doing? We'll find out in a couple weeks, but I don't like it right now.
What is up, Noah? How are you today? I hope all is well. It's Friday afternoon.
Yes, sir.
I'm pretty stoked about Derek Harmon. I think that was a great pick, and I think it's going to pay dividends.
Yes, sir.
I'm a little bummed out that we don't have a second-round pick, but
DK Metcalf,
I'll keep it short. For all those folks who call in and leave 4 and 5 minute messages, come on now, do us a favor, keep it a little bit more brief. We got Eddie the Great first, to thank for bringing that up. And I want to make sure that we got to do a health and wellness check on Maddie or something, because I didn't see her on the morning show, and we didn't get Jackson Dart, so I'm a little concerned.
It's true. Maddie, dude. Everybody's worried about you.
Hope you're doing fine, Maddie. Shout out, all Steelers talk. I'm out.
What a way to end it. What a way to end it. Look at, dude, I want everybody collectively, when you're in the chat today, when you're in the comment section, when you're in the community posts, just wish Maddie a happy belated, man. She had birthday over the weekend. She was on vacation. She was doing her thing, man. She was having a good time. I hope you enjoyed it. Shout out everybody, man. Shout out everybody. What a hell of a show. I appreciate you guys. Again, I apologize that it was a day late. I wish I was here. I stand in line all day yesterday at Lowe's trying to figure out a generator or something to save some food in the fridge and get the Wi-Fi going. I would have sat here in the dark and recorded it if I could have. Couldn't do it. Lights came back on about 9:00 last night. Very grateful for it. Shout out to the electric company. Shout out to everybody working their ass off out there right now to save the city of Pittsburgh. But it's cool. We're hunkering down and we're making the most out of this. Once again, thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of the AST Call-In Show. I'm Noah Strackpine. Make sure to subscribe to us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalk. Hit those audio downloads. We moved to a 4.5 star, and I can't tell you guys how much that means. It does. We're moving up. Want to get to the 5. Want to be in the top 10 at the end of the year. I'm going to continue to push that. So it doesn't happen without you guys. I'd be very grateful if it could happen. On top of that, you could find all of my work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. I'll be back this afternoon for the flagship show. With that said, enjoy a beautiful day in the Berg. I'll be back later. Peace.